Welcome to Lighthouse Outlook, the podcast where we talk less about the markets and more about what matters to the people navigating them. From family offices to founders, we go beyond the numbers to unpack risk, legacy, and the human side of capital. Hosted by the team at MacNicol & Associates Asset Management.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's Joe Pachydinak here with MacNicol & Associates Asset Management. I am your manager for the MacNicol Alternative Asset Trust. Welcome to our latest podcast today, where I'm really excited to welcome back a guest that we've had on the podcast series before. He is the Chief Executive Officer of one of our MacNicol portfolio companies. It's called Grata, and he is Troy Crema. Troy, welcome back. It's great to see you. Lots going on with the company, and I'm sure you'll get into all of that when we hand it over to yourself. But since we would have seen you the first time, we have signed on some new investors here at the company, which is always great. Why don't you start from the beginning, tell them a little bit about yourself and how you got the idea for Grata, what you're up to today, and very importantly, what you see looking out into the future.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, JP, and pleasure to be on, and great to reconnect, I guess, with older investors, and nice to meet new ones. Grata, super high level from a 50,000-foot lens is, an all-in-one software platform for multifamily apartment communities. And within that software platform, we try to create the best digital experience for really two main stakeholders in a building, which are residents via mobile app and property management via mobile and web app solution. We classify ourselves as a smart living platform. And so we define smart living as not just providing necessity software feature sets in the platform, like rental payments, work orders, etc., but really also integrating the entire building tech stack into one platform. So in a building, we specialize in integrating smart technology. So smart locks, thermostats, leak detection, water prevention, also integrating base building technology. So fob system or access control, camera securities, intercoms, parking management, and really unifying that stack into one, pane of glass and platform for the building, but also being able to integrate multiple different types of hardware stacks across, the entire North America. So what, Luke puts into a Vancouver high rise is going to be different than what Joseph puts into a Texas garden style asset. But really the software platform shouldn't change, which is Grata, but we can integrate a variety of different tech stacks or hardware stacks for each building, really unify that experience for the property manager while delivering the best end user experience for the most important person, which is the resident at the end of the day through a mobile app, aka the Grata app. Us in a nutshell of where we've gone. So, we originally were founded back in 2019 or 2020 through myself and my co-founder, our chairman, and also lastly my dad Ken. And really, we founded the business because we saw a major pain point in the market, which was that residents were not digitally available nor connected to property managers in their building. I was living in a New York walk-up, like a friend-style apartment building. Ken was living in a first-service run condominium, and we were chopping rent on a multifamily apartment asset in Toronto, Canada. And all those living experiences, we couldn't get a hold of our PM. We didn't know who to talk to. I had a fob and key in my hand. I was looking at paper notices in the elevator. So really kind of archaic pre-internet technology processes for resident experience and property management day to day were being instituted on those assets. And then my background was really in the software space on the mobile app side. And Ken's background was, in the tech services space. And so we basically said, well, if we can create an app that connects residents that they'd use every day to property managers, maybe we can drive, more operational efficiencies and resident experience through a digital platform, which traditionally buildings have operated on non-digital ways of building. So for us, being able to do that, we've always looked at in the market, what's going to be that core driver of, high adoption rates on mobile so that Luke is going to download it. And then what's going to keep, Luke coming back to it every single day, 10 to 15 times a day. and constantly keep growing the adoption rates in buildings and driving that daily active engagement. And right away, we saw these things called keys and fobs, in everyone's hands, and basically thought, hey, well, if we could digitize the fob and the key into an app, very simply, that's going to drive up high adoption, and that's what people are going to use, be a core driver and feature that people are going to use every single day, 15 to 20 times a day, to access the front door, amenity spaces, elevator around their building. We started retrofitting back in 2023, existing buildings that were in the market, and we would take literally like a 500 unit building, which would have 1,200 people living there and 0 emails on file. So 0 digital activation adoption, and make it and basically upgrade it with, smart technology and drive that digital key experience. And we saw a 0% building go to 95% adoption, right, and people using it every single day. With those learnings, we became the source of truth platform for the building. And so from there, we said, well, why don't we just keep building and adding to it and really become, an entire ecosystem for a building? And that's really kind of what we've done and constantly year over year over the last 3 years. We started off integrating just smart locks and tying in a basic access control system. Now we do smart locks, thermostats, leak detection, access control, intercoms, etc. And really we integrate the entire tech stack of a building into the platform to provide the best digital user experience for those two main stakeholders. Again, I would say where are we going with the business that's super interesting. From a revenue standpoint, I think when we were first starting out in 2023, I think we did about 2.6 mil our first year. Last year we did 2024 10.57, and this year we've just passed. Still got 22 days left, but we just passed the 30 million mark, which is exciting for us. And all those sales have been driven through direct sales. So it's been us picking up the phone, calling developers and owners, getting one project, servicing that building really well, and then, just expanding our logos. And we work now with some of the biggest owner-operator developers across Canada and the US, which include Greystar, First Service Residential, which is a full circle moment for us, with Ken living in that building originally. And then Willow Bridge, which is, the third largest property manager, which now got acquired by Cadillac Fairview as well. So, and those are just a few logos that we can mention on this call. What's exciting about where we've gone this year is, all of our sales have traditionally been direct, meaning, Troy picking up the phone, calling, dialing for dollars, and working down a sales cycle and closing, which is great because now you're finally connected to your customer. What also has been really interesting is that internet service providers across Canada and the United States have been looking for a smart living platform, but also a full service partner, which is what Grata offers, to partner with to sell to developers and owners across North America. So we launched a program last year with TELUS, started in November. And this year just alone, we've driven millions and millions of dollars in net new internet business for them, as well as revenue generating units through our marketplace. But we essentially now are the preferred smart buildings partner for all of TELUS in Western Canada, which does internet to 78% of all developers and owners in BC and Alberta. Specifically, in the East, we've just recently signed up, again, a non-exclusive mutual channel partnership with Beanfield this year, and we have just onboarded Bell. So we're kind of covered from an ISP relationship perspective across Canada, which is exciting. And what that does for us is it drives just a ton of funnel, in pipeline. So every day, the internet channel managers across Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, Calgary, et cetera, are talking to developers, talking to owners. And, an organic question is, have you thought about technology for your building? Yes. Here's Troy at Grata, or here's your sales team at Grata. And then essentially we take it all the way from there. So it's been a partnership that's been really exciting for us. And one that I would say is where we're starting to see a lot of revenue growth and traction is really not just through direct sales next year, but also through the channel, which is what we classify it as. And yeah, I think the team, just in general, are all domiciled up in Toronto, located at Yonge and Dundas. So if any older and new investors want to come down for a visit, we'd love to host you. I think we've trying to develop a pretty good presence in Toronto, funny enough, amongst buildings. So now, happy to tour people through, Grata buildings that are live and in market today. If you're across the USA or in Canada, we probably got a building where you're located, and happy to, also coordinate from there. I would say, we're expanding the tech team. So a lot of our JP kind of knows this. We're relatively a bootstrap company. So those revenue growth numbers, we haven't taken in a lot of capital to the balance sheet. If anything at all, over the last 3 years, which has been really exciting. We from there, we've just been hiring organically across all departments, but really more so investing in our tech team. So tech team makes up a majority of our monthly overhead, essentially, of what we actually pay. And the reason why that is we're constantly looking at innovative R&D to drive more user experience and more integration stacks to keep driving, a better resident and property management experience for the building to provide more value add. So, feature sets like rental payments and becoming now a fintech on top of being an operating system are all things that we've, incorporated this year, with the evolution of AI now and having a platform that has a lot of data. Well, if you have a platform that has a lot of data, the next organic step is build AI learning modules to enhance that data and use it to basically drive more performance. And so with AI, fintech, and all these other different components, we have to constantly keep investing back in the technology and the product. We're a cash flow positive business, high profit margins, and we had I don't know if we could say this on this, but we had a tax hit this year that we had to think about, which are all good problems to have, for a business that's growing. But we're always looking at ways to keep investing back in to the product, just given that we want to stay ahead of the curve. We want to be bleeding edge in the market. And, this is just multifamily rental, which is about a 40 million unit TAM, which has a housing shortage everywhere. So it's a super fast growing market year over year over the last 100 years. But looking to get into, hospitality, condos, maybe, I don't know if we go into office, but, different verticals where there are essentially buildings, those are all things that we're thinking about to grow our TAM and, grow our reach, not just in North America, but worldwide. But, yeah, it's been an exciting few years for us. And, MacNicol Associates have been great, investors and partners of ours.
Well, and you said some things there that really are, I'm sure, exciting for yourselves. Well, one of the terms you used was revenue growth. Boy, are you ever! And we as investors, we're excited about that too. But I want to shift gears to something a little bit less exciting. I remember back when I was younger, I had a condo down by the Sky Dome, and whenever I would hop down to go on a vacation, I'd come back and the mailbox was just absolutely stuffed full of flyers that I didn't read in the first place.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about that, and explain to our investors what what the Grata Plus Marketplace is and how that integrates into the overall operations. Why is that so essential in becoming a really fast growing part of your business?
Yeah, so I think it's a good dovetail in just the mobile app demo, which I'll pull up right now.
Sure.
So again, going back to kind of when I was talking about we retrofitted 500 unit buildings and, zero people were essentially in the digitally available or had an account in the building. If you're a marketer marketing to that building and you can't reach anyone digitally, aka first name, last name, email, phone number, you just spam them via direct mail. So you go basically and go, I'm just going to market, I'm a 500 unit building. I'm going to send 500 flyers a week for 52 weeks. And, hopefully someone signs up to my HelloFresh deal or my telco deal. That is actually traditionally how buildings are marketed still to this day, because people do not actually know who lives there. They are literally black holes of data that Google and Google, Bloomberg, Apple literally don't have any data on, right? Like it's literally like a crazy actually kind of the digital landscape of data is like everywhere in the world if you look at it from a map, but in apartment buildings it's like a black hole, which is kind of funny to think about. So going full circle to answer your question directly, JP, if you create a mobile app now that drives 0 to 95% adoption, well, now I got 95% of the building that's accessible via app, email, and SMS. And guess what? If they're in the app, every single day, 10 to 15 times a day to open the front door intercom for the Uber Eats driver, to, tap my card across the entire building, like my hotel card for my building, and have a whole tap Bluetooth experience. Well, this is driving, daily active engagement on that platform, which in turn allows you to open up unique marketing opportunities through this, which is our Grata Plus section. And this allows us to essentially market, deals and offers through national partners, which in this case is TELUS, that they've never been able to offer before. And so, TELUS has been a pretty amazing partner of ours because, there's a lot of, different lines of business that we're able to market for them, whether that's, TELUS security or data protection, whether that's, the latest accessories on an AirPod if you sign up to a new phone plan, right? And we've actually, what's cool this year is, this marketplace section has grown so much because our reach has grown, but we've also been able to onboard national partners like TELUS and like State Farm now into the US that they've never been able to get to people in buildings. And so we're really driving what we call, revenue generating units for them across, traditionally a vertical, within TELUS that has spent a fortune on customer acquisition programs like flyer drops, ice cream trucks outside the building, having to literally go there to like literally have a person in a TELUS shirt go there and try to sign up, JP for internet, right? So it's very costly to actually onboard and sign up customers. With this, within a few clicks, you get access to the building and then you can market them anything you want. And then your offers and deals can change depending on the demographic of the building. So what you market to a student housing building in Edmonton is going to be different than what you market to high-lux, say, high-rise in Toronto, right? And everything in between. So the ability for Grata Plus to also be a marketing engine across app, email, SMS, but also being able to drive different offers and deals to different demographics of buildings has been a massive value add to telcos in general, but is now becoming a massive value add to other national partners and sponsors as well.
Okay, that's really exciting. I always I always hear your updates. I get the investor ones, but I love hearing about it kind of in the flesh, so to speak. Um, okay, so looking ahead, I guess you're obviously well past sort of that, like well past the proof of concept phase. I can sort of see it in black and white in your financials. You talked about the revenue growth, the profits, the balance sheet looks really stout. And I know the future is ultimately uncertain, but kind of what is, because you're still a fairly young man, aren't you, right? So, where do you see this going?
Well, I'm 30 now, right? So I'm a little older. Um, um, I think it's 40 again. If look at it from a TAM perspective, it's a 40 million unit total addressable market for multifamily rental units in North America. 1 million of those have any technology in buildings today. So it's a wide open season. So long story short, JP and Luke, if we just keep doing what we're doing, there are opportunities to grow this to, 1 million units, which is still only 2.5% of the TAM today, which is constantly growing in North America. And you probably have a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah, that's incredible because yeah, sorry, Luke. I was just saying that's just like the scale and scope of the opportunity here is it must like make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when you get up in the morning.
Yeah.
Sorry, Luke, you were gonna ask something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking from obviously the renter's perspective, it's way better than, the smart living concept is way better than going on a website to, rent out the movie room or whatnot.
Yeah.
But from the portfolio manager or the owner's perspective, have you seen like rent growth go up? Like what do you see on that side? Like what's the incentive for the landlord to put this in the building?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So the number one amenity that people sign up to when they go lease up in a building rental as of this year is technology. It's actually kind of crazy. It's not the gym or the, nice pool in North Carolina. It's, actually technology and convenience to the end renter. And it has to work and it has to be aggregated and it's going to be centralized, which again, people are investing in technology for that resident experience just to drive lease ups. 78%, the highest amenity for retention now, Luke, in the market is technology. So, if you can drive new lease ups and you can drive retention amongst good residents for your building, aka top line rent growth or revenue for your product, then you're going to invest in technology. So that's just, step one. Two, it's operational efficiencies and cost savings across the board. Fobs, keys, clickers, those are all reoccurring physical pieces of hardware that people give out that take people to give them out to people, right? If you can literally like take all those out of circulations they're saving, but if you now can manage a 500 unit building with a staff of 2 or 1 versus a staff of 15, right away you're generating NOI and you're generating savings across the board. That's going to impact your cap rate, which in turn impacts your portfolio value. So what we always say to, partners is when you put Grata into a building, regardless of whether it's a 1950s built building or it's a new development that's 5 years out, you are investing in a smart living experience to manage your building into the future, which is full digital. And what's interesting is, traditionally we found that, people want to have fobs as redundancy, keys as redundancy, stuff like that. Like they still want those. We're now finding that people are actually moving towards full digital mobile first experiences. And, if you don't want that type of experience that people are going to the renter, then they'll go, you're not going to live here. Right. So that's really kind of what we started seeing is this shift from, I would say, older archaic ways of managing a building through reoccurring physical hardware to mobile first, fully digital, efficient buildings, but you need a platform to do that, which is Grata. And all that does lead back to, NOI and savings. And, the third bucket of what we're looking to do with that Grata Plus section, just to bring it full circle with JP, it's leveraging, potential marketing and ancillary revenue opportunities for that marketplace to add another line to the balance sheet for an asset. If we are able to add that line, which, now we're getting a lot of traction with, the telcos and the insurance companies who have super high customer acquisition costs for these buildings, we can start giving that money back to the owner. Then you're literally a revenue generator. You drive all the operational efficiencies and savings for a building, and your NOI story just keeps expanding and growing. So it becomes a why not, why not versus a when, conversation.
Yeah, and I think, Troy, you talked about this with myself offline one time, which is, now people are building owners are looking to enhance the performance of the building. But one thing I forgive my ignorance, when you kind of approach a building and it's, a 1980s or 1970s vintage style building, is retrofitting harder, or would you prefer to say, okay, I'd rather start, it's Monday morning and I just started my week. I want to have a bunch of meetings with some brand new developers, or do I want to have a bunch of meetings where I'm going into buildings that are, twice my age?
Yeah, I think it's, twofold, right? We've always been of the mindset that Grata is a product for everyone. We had a cool use case last week. So we partnered with Avenue Living out in Western Canada recently. If you look at Avenue Living's portfolio, it's a mixed bag. They got Class A assets, Class B, Class C, affordable housing, Class D assets, and not so great, markets and areas. But they're of the mindset that if we upgrade, to a digital experience across the entire portfolio and in turn upgrade systems, it's going to provide a value add for everyone and allow our team to operate more efficiently across, multiple assets versus, how we're operating today. So, in turn, just as use case, like we went into a 40-unit building last week in Calgary and, we drilled out all the keyed locks, but the doors were like messed up. And, so it's interesting in the sense that we know so many intricacies about an existing building and its age that we can go up front and go, hey, you're going to need not just a smart lock, but you're going to need a wrap. You're going to need a lever. You're going to need, an extender because, the holes in the door frame are not going to line up and match. So long story short, we've been able to standardize retrofitting to an extent, which all comes based on hands-on experience and, knowing that. For new developments, yeah, it's great. It should be easy, I would say. We now, by developing this full service offering, people are going, I don't trust anyone with technology for my building but Grata. Because if I build a 600 unit high rise and I got 10 different trades on site across that door hardware, access control, HVAC, lighting, those trades are only incentivized to put something into a building and then do it as cheaply as possible because they're gone after the building's built. If the software platform is tying in the full service offering, the implementation of tech, well, one, they can have, buying power price points. So there are savings, across the board that we can provide on the CapEx upfront. And then second, there's just going to be a quality assurance aspect that, Grata is going to be able to implement versus, 6 or 7 different trades. And, with that type of offering, I would say on the full service and projects and construction side, the margins and the high ticket items that you're able to implement for that are substantial. But the ability to essentially provide a one-stop shop process to implement physical technology in the building that, eventually the software platform ties into, I think is just a value prop that is super unique in the space and one that we haven't seen anyone do besides us.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Well, Troy,
Well,
it's really exciting. Yeah, go ahead, Luke. Sorry.
The way, like, you think of it as luxury products, and then, you think a little bit deeper and you say, well, it could be value add for everything, every multifamily, right? And you haven't really talked much about office, but like, it's there too, right? There's a lot of, class B, class C buildings that don't have that tech stack.
Yeah, and we always say that too, right? It's we never get told no, but the owner will come back to us, maybe in 4 years, 5 years, go, hey, actually, you know what? I'm with the times. I'm gonna catch up. Specifically, Toronto GTA rental owners and developers are good now that are coming into the market. But it's if you look at the Toronto market, it's a great example of hey, I'm waking up to the value add. We used to get told by owners in Toronto that no one will use an app for my building because they have flip phones. That was like 5 years ago, right? Now it's like, if you don't have an app, you're outdated. But then if you don't have an app that does all these different things and centralizes everything, then, you're not driving efficiency right across your org. So, it's just been an interesting, I would say, evolution, Luke. And, that I guess that even just market shift in like, the last 6 months of, hey, it's a mobile first digital way to manage buildings going forward. Like that's as of this year. So like now we're really excited about just the trajectory and growth curve because, to your point, it's not just, market rate A-class assets that can use Grata. It's city community housing, student housing, workforce housing, class B, C, D, E, you name it, that can use it and provide a value add.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Wow. Okay, well, Troy, that was a quick half hour there. It's you move fast, but then your business is moving even faster, and so our investors are very pleased with that. We expect to hear much more from you and your company in the coming years. Thanks for doing this, and I think that's it. Luke, any final words from yourself?
No, well, thank you very much, for your time.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing the company grow even further.
Yeah, of course. And I'm not trying to give myself a shout out, but if people do want to follow like literally the traction of the business in real time, you can add me on LinkedIn. I'm constantly doing live demos of like the technology in our buildings and really physically what that experience entails from a value add perspective. And our team, has a pretty rapidly growing presence on LinkedIn. So, Grata on LinkedIn, give us a follow. And again, you can follow my profile or any of our different other leaderships, and you'll be able to see the company grow in real time. And then, like I always say to JP and you, Luke, it's just if they have the raptors want to talk or have questions and want to learn more about the business, we're available 24/7, 365, as JP knows.
Great. Okay, well, thank you for that, Troy.
Awesome. Appreciate it,
Well,
gents.
that's it for today then. Thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thanks for listening to Lighthouse Outlook. If this conversation sparked a new perspective, share it with someone who thinks differently. Subscribe for fresh episodes every 2 weeks and visit MacNicolasset.com to learn more.